Hello, it's Cozy Home. Today I'm talking about dreadlocks. So I've had my dreadlocks for years now, like 6 years maybe, and I let them come in through the neglect method, which means that you just basically wash your hair, you stop conditioning, and you stop combing your hair. And for a few years your hair just looks fuzzy. And then a little bit at a time, they start to dread up, and then one day you wake up and you have dreadlocks. Took me about 3 years for the dreads to come in. But now, 6, 7 years later, and they're pretty long, eh? I dig them. My mother hates them, but I dig them. Anyway, they're disgusting. I never ever twist them, so the new growth is just ridiculous. And when I mean I never twist them, I went once to get them. They do the crochet hook. I spent a fortune. The dreads looked fat for like 2 days, and then they went back to my fuzzy disaster normal. And I don't think I'm ever going to get them to look pretty. I've been watching Cheskalok's video, and she's awesome, and her hair is beautiful. But I don't think I'll ever get it to look like that because A, I don't have the kind of discipline to sit there and twist my entire head. And that's about it. I'm just lazy. But they're gross. I've been in the balcony gardening, and my hair is just, it's disgusting. So this is beyond washing. It needs like a deep, deep clean. So I'm going to try her vinegar baking soda dip experiment. What I've decided to do, most people wash their hair after. I want to wash my hair before to get a lot of the gunk out, and then do the soak because I'm curious to see how dirty the water is after the dreads have been washed. So when you're washing with your regular non-residue shampoo, is it still leaving a lot of dirt behind? I'm kind of curious. So I figure this will be a good experiment, and I'll share it with you. Thanks. Hair tea is a wonderful part of dreadlock maintenance. This is dried thyme and sage. You make these separately. So what you should do is, actually rosemary and chamomile work great. Rosemary for dark hair, chamomile for blonde hair. What you do is you bring a pot of water to a boil. As soon as it's to the boil, you shut off the heat, throw in your herbs, and cover and let it steep for about 20 minutes, and then give it a good strain. Sage you use for things like dandruff, if you have an itchy scalp, to get rid of any critters. It's kind of antibacterial, antimicrobial. In terms of spirit stuff, it's very cleansing, so it's a good thing to give you a good feeling of being clean, like a fresh start. If you use sage, you have to rinse it out very, very well, so make sure you give it a good rinse. Same with rosemary and chamomile. Thyme, however, is an awesome in-between rinse. So what you do with thyme is you pour it over your scalp and let it drip down your hair, and you let it dry. So you don't have to rinse this out. And what this does, it's kind of like an antiseptic. So it gives your hair a nice clean rinse, and gives your hair some freshness in between washes. Because as you know with dreadlocks, you don't want to overwash them, and you don't want to encourage mildew. And thyme is excellent for that. Okay. They've been washed with some raw residue shampoo, and I soaked them in some sage and let them sit for a bit and rinsed all the sage out. And now what I'm doing is filling the sink and adding our magic mixture. So I have a couple of tablespoons of sea salt. Now I'm doing more than Cheskalok's did for her recipe because I'm using a bigger sink and using more water. I've got an entire cup of baking soda. I'm going to add in there. God, that's powdery. Get that all melted. Shitload of vinegar. Wow, that's sudsing up like crazy. Woo! And it stinks. Holy shit, that stinks. Okay, now I'm sudsing. So I didn't have white vinegar or cider vinegar, so I had to, it stinks. So I had to use malt vinegar because that's all we had in the house right now. And A, it really stinks. B, I'm hoping it works. But I realize it's not going to be a true test because the malt vinegar is so dark that you can't see any muck that's coming out of it. So it already looks brown, but that's the vinegar. So you can't really tell. But still, it was really fizzing up. So that should be really good for the dreads. Definitely gonna have to deodorize my hair after this. I think what I'm going to do is after, see this dread? This dread drives me crazy. Look at how thick it is. I can't wait for it to grow a little. After this is soaked for a bit, I think what I'm going to do is just some baking soda and essential oil, minus the vinegar, and some more sea salt, just to get the stink out. Fuck, it's gross. But it's fizzy, you know, like the water, you could feel it. I don't know that it would work. Anyway. People always ask me how I wash my dreads. So here you go. This is how I wash my dreads. Now I've already given these a pre-wash in the shower. So this is mostly just to get the vinegar and whatever baking soda was left. Remember how I said they stunk when I was in the vinegar? Now that I'm rinsing it all out, it actually smells really fresh and clean. Okay, doing my final rinse. I put my thyme. You can also use it straight, but I'm putting it in the sink with a shitload of sea salt and a couple of drips of peppermint essential oil. You can use whatever essential oil you like. I'm using peppermint because I get headaches, and I find this very helpful. I may have gone overboard on the peppermint, but it'll smell good later. Okay, everything's washed. I'm tired and my back hurts. And I can't bend over like that because of my head injury, so I'm fighting off a bit of vertigo right now, but the peppermint helps, so it smells so good even now. So my hair, you always have to make sure you let your dreads really dry. Man, they're heavy when they're wet. Especially these bad boys. Okay, as you can see, I'm soaked. Oh, they feel clean. You know when you pick up a dish that's you just like scrub the shit out of? That's what this feels like. It's like squeaky clean. I don't smell any vinegar. All I can smell is peppermint. Yeah, I went a little crazy with the peppermint. But that'll air out and smell really pretty. So if you do want to condition, they have like really nice products that you can use for your dreads to keep them nice and soft. I really can't afford them. So what I'm gonna do, because I could tell that this stripped a lot from them, and they feel pretty dry. So I'm gonna wait for them to drip out just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna separate. You know, after a while, especially with neglected, which I hate that term, by the way, but dreadlocks, you see after a while, they kind of band together. These are two dreadlocks. And I like that to happen because when your hair gets long, your dreadlocks tend to get really, really thin. And some people like that look, but I want dreadlocks, man. I didn't do this to look pretty. So, what I'll do is I'll take a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of olive oil in the palm of my hand and rub my hands together, and maybe rub them on the ends just a little bit. to give them a bit of moisture. Normally you would do like a hot oil treatment and wash it out, but I just went through all this trouble. I'm not going to go do that. So I'm going to give them a tiny, tiny little drop of a massage, and only on the ends, because otherwise you're going to look all icky. And just let these babies dry out really, really, really well. Look at that. Now with natural dreads, that's the kind of shit that happens. It's really annoying. You separate as much as you can when that happens, so it's its own thing. You hear that? Did you hear that rip? And except, see, this is beyond ripping. That's not gonna rip. So eventually these will grow together. And as this gets longer, it'll look like that. This is temporary situation, so don't stress when that happens, okay? Eventually it'll all grow out, and these here will grow together, and that'll be a nice fat Bob Marley dread by the time that's done. So don't stress about your dreadlocks, okay? I mean, really the whole point of getting dreads is to get past the whole vanity thing. Well, at least for natural dreaders, people that let their dreads come in. So you don't need them to look perfect. That's not the point. If you're trying to get perfect dreads, then I think you're missing the point of the whole journey. So chill out, relax, and enjoy them.